so much from George and me. George has deputed me to say a few words, his words, but I'll say them. So, yes, this is such a kind of different world for me. I'm a former regulator, professor of finance for many years, and George and I have been working on the understanding of what should be the regulations for securitization. I mean, I for 25 years, George, who's a kind of young lad for probably just 15 or 17 years. So for me, that was initially, I was a Bank of England official, and so I was seconded to the ratings and securitization work stream, which basically designed all the capital charges under Basel II. And so I and a student of mine actually devised the ratings-based approach in the original Basel II. And so after the crisis, the regulators naturally wanted to review the approaches in a rather severe way. And on the industry side, a group was set up that included basically all the top quants in the industry. And so it was organised by Alexander Bachelorov and sponsored by Fabrice Susini, who was the head of the AFME committee at the time and was global head of securitization, I think, at BNPP. And so that group, which included me and George, we worked for several years trying to understand what the actual risks of securitization were, and trying to influence and help the regulators in coming up with sensible approaches. So there were lots of people involved in that. So there was Daniel Tatum-Tongo, there was Alistair Pickett, there was Shalom Ben-Haim, and those were the people on the industry side. And then I had some really outstanding quants working for me in my firm, Peng Yang, Joseph Kutas, Yixin Q. And so with the backing of Fabrice, and then the support and backing of Richard Hopkin from AFME, we tried to show the regulators how they should proceed. And the regulations could be a lot tougher than they are. I mean, I think the efforts that we made helped to head off something which many of you will never have heard of, called the modified supervisory formula approach, which was the most kind of industry killer type of approach, as it was suggested. And then also, I think the work that we did contributed to unease at a senior level in the way the Basel Committee was making its decisions. And so that's where STS came from. It came from the intervention of the two central bank heads, Carney and Draghi. And so that, our research was very much feeding into that. And I think that, the individual papers that we've written, and George and I have written many papers, always the attempt has been to satisfy any technical person who happens to be in the room, but to persuade the senior regulators that that things need to go in one direction or another. So now, some years later, it's as though there's a sequel to those earlier debates, and that there's now an additional round of reconsideration of what the regulatory capital charges should be, both for insurers and banks in Europe. And George and I have been making our effort to respond to this, working with new co-authors. Amazingly, the debate remains quasi-evidence-free. So I think there's remarkably little analysis from the regulators, or indeed from the industry, in public domain of what risks are. So we've been collecting data and applying models that really show you, if you have a kind of technical and analytical bent, show you what the real risks are and how the capital charges should be framed. So So we don't represent, I mean, I certainly don't. George works in the industry, now at Munich Re, but I definitely don't represent the industry, and I'm simply trying to apply models to show the regulators what the logic is of what they're doing, and hence, arrive at better regulations. So if you're interested in any of these topics, then George and my collected works are on our company website with about 20 years of analysis of exactly what the risks are and how the regulation should be framed. But anyway, I think we're both very grateful for the recognition, but really it's an effort which has been conducted by a whole lot of people, including all the names I mentioned, and others as well. So thank you very much.